All right, kiddos. Um, we are working on our Ready Level G lesson, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by writing our title. So if you go back to page 50, you'll see that we are working on citing evidence to support inferences. So the very first thing we're going to do is do our setup on the top of the page and write citing evidence to support inferences. And if I get ahead of you, guess what you get to do? Make sure to pause the video. Also, if I write it in red, you need to write it on your paper. If I highlight it, you need to highlight it. Oh, sorry about that. Let me get rid of that. All right, so our next thing that we're going to do is we're going to redefine all of our words just like we did previously. So citing means to use quotes. That is right. So underneath the word citing, you need to write use quotes. You can even put quotation marks around the word citing, just like I'm doing. The next thing that we're going to do is talk about what evidence is, and it is proof. That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to prove it. And when we're looking for inferences, it is nothing more than an educated guess. Okay? So, with that being said, our next step is to read our directions. Okay? And our directions say to read the part of the short story about the criminals who kidnap a child and hold him for ransom. Then we're going to circle our genre, which is short story, which automatically lets me know a couple of things. That this is fiction. Guys, a short story can only be fiction. There are only 3 types of fiction, and a short story is one of them. And if it is fiction, it is not real, which means even if it seems like it could be real, it is still not because it is fiction. Now, fiction is also told in chronological order because it's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I ran out of room. Oops. All right, outside of being in chronological order, fiction also has a couple of things that it's got to have. It's got to have characters, it's got to have a setting, and it's also got to have plot, which is where we get our conflict. And usually we get a theme too, but we'll get into that later. So after we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is look at our title, and we're going to box the ransom of Red Chief. And we box our title just to make sure we're paying attention. And sorry, my pen got a little wonky, and it's more of a strange box than a real box. And then we're going to go through and number our paragraphs, okay? And that's how we pay attention to when things like dialogue starts, because every time a new speaker starts talking, we get a new paragraph with a new indentation. So we have 6 paragraphs, and if we notice in the corner, it says continued, which lets me know this isn't the end of my story. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is where we actually read our story. So make sure you're keeping up with the things that I'm looking at. All right, so can't read that little bitty screen. We, because that's still a point of view and first person point of view, we selected, from The Ransom of Red Chief by O. Henry. We selected for our victim the only child of a prominent citizen named Ebenezer Dorset. The kid was a boy of 10 with bas relief freckles and hair the color of the cover of the magazine you buy at the newsstand when you want to catch a train. Bill and me figured that Ebenezer would melt down for a ransom of $2,000 to a cent. But wait till I tell you. So before I keep going, $2,000? That doesn't seem like a lot of money nowadays, but back in the 1800s, that was a heck of a lot of money. All right? So we want to make sure you realize that that much money back then was a lot. So to keep going, the kid was in the street throwing rocks at a kitten on the opposite fence. Who throws rocks at kittens? What? No. Okay, sorry, excuse me. Hey, little boy, says Bill, would you like to have a bag of candy and a nice ride? The boy catches Bill neatly in the eye with a piece of brick. He throws a brick at him. That'll cost the old man an extra $500, says Bill, climbing over the wheel. I'm writing faster than I can read. That boy put up a fight like a welterweight cinnamon bear, but at last we got him down in the bottom of the buggy and drove away. We took him up to the cave, and I hitched the horse in the cedar brake. After dark, I drove the buggy to the little village 3 miles away where we had hired it and walked back to the mountain. Now, as I'm steadily going through and underlining stuff, it's trying to make sure you point out and you realize that this kid fought like a bear. He's 10. I don't think I describe any of y'all, and y'all are 12 as fighting like a bear. And that he's in a buggy. Guys, we're not talking about a buggy at the grocery store. We're talking about a horse and buggy because there's no cars in the 1800s. And keep in mind that 3 miles in a horse and buggy is kind of far away. And so the fact that they're in the mountains means they're trying to stay remote. Okay?